Thank you to Fane for their support on Patreon. Hello everyone, and welcome to episode 6 of the Following the Plot podcast, storytelling related stuff, talking about stories, talking about people who make stories, talking about storytelling. It's all kinds of shit. This time around, I'm going to be doing an interview with someone who is not necessarily crafting the game, but crafting the mode. An artist in a visual novel is one of the most important architects of the storytelling regime, and in this vein, I have graciously been allowed to interview a personal friend of mine who I met through the visual novel sphere. He is currently working as the chief character artist in Wolfstar Sins and Paradise, and you can also see their earlier works in Monster Hunting for Love. Please welcome to the show and enjoy my interview with Briar's Thorne, Mark Thorne, artist with many names, Briar's Thorne. Yes, let's go with that one. That is their tag name.
Sorry, just this entire time thinking about this entire interview thing, I was thinking of this Ludwig von Drake song I have.
Yeah?
Where he's recording, and it's like, you're just listening to this guy talking, and it's like, they just put him in a room with a bunch of gags and prompts, didn't they?
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what that shit is, but every once in a while you'll see on like a news recap where they show like this dude who's literally just talking about some shit. I don't even know what the fuck he's talking about, but he just keeps walking up to a soundboard and the recession today was pew, and it's fucking like like and what is that show? That's a radio show on TV, and it's not even a good radio show.
Wow.
I will say, you have a very pleasant voice to listen to.
Aw, thank you.
And you
it's
have
a little altered because of the really nasty cold we've had, but thank you.
Yeah, tis the season after all. I mean, shit. Right after I wake up, and this is a horrible fucking topic to start the fucking conversation on. But right when I wake up, I swear, like, the natural cycles that keep fluids moving just stops while I'm asleep.
Yeah.
So I wake up,
and then it's like, oh yeah, you have all this backup that you need to get rid of now.
Yeah, and it sucks ass. I have to take nasal sprays because the inside of my nose just
dries up.
Yeah, it doesn't dry up as much as it swells.
Ooh.
It's so I have to take this spray to like get it to relax a bit. I have to do it once after waking up and once before bed, and otherwise it's harder for me to breathe. It sucks.
Yeah, that sucks.
So you like to do art, huh?
From my earliest childhood, I remember drawing pictures and shaving cream on the school desk.
Dude, okay, no, fuck it. That was like the best fucking day. Like, everyone goes off about parachute day, which is cool in its own right. No shade to the parachute, but like, I remember the day in daycare. I hated daycare for many reasons, but fucking, they brought a shaving cream. I was begging them to do it again, and they never did. Those motherfuckers. I loved shaving cream day.
I'm glad other people are experiencing that, because Lily has absolutely no clue what I talk about.
Ah, well, then it's your job to have shaving cream day.
Rose will love it. Anyway.
So, you are an artiste of a very wide and long, esteemed portfolio. You have worked for many years and in a very public space, and your work most recently is highly visible in the game Wolfstar Sins and Paradise, as you are reworking all of the sprites in your own image. Not your own image, but in your own style. I'd hope to God not in your own image on some of them.
That would be very awkward.
Yeah, just a whole game of you as all the characters, especially if it's Sins. That would be an interesting experience as an artist, I imagine.
Well, yeah, I mean, all I'd have to do is replace the head. which I can actually do, which is just really weird.
That is something that I guess I did not know about until very recently. I don't know how much you keep up with the videos I do. I know your not Steam. Fuck, your Discord tag literally says "I am dad, therefore I am tired."
Yes, I haven't changed it because it hasn't changed.
Yeah. And so I don't imagine you have a lot of time, but every once in a while, you'll start telling me, like, you'll start sending me bits that you found funny in a video that I did, and that warms the cockles of my heart when you do that. I absolutely adore it. But recently, I've tried to revamp some of my thumbnail styles. Because I felt it had grown stale and it would blah, blah, blah. But it involved me going into the game files and finding the sprite art. And
yes, that's probably an interesting mess.
Oh, yeah. It's... Honestly, I know out of the big ones who does it the worst in terms of organization. It's probably not who you expect, but that's a different topic. But a lot of them were like archived the inside files. I don't know what the fuck. So I had to get like a program that unarchived it, and it turned out the reason is because of, and I don't know if you were involved in developing this or if this was something that you were explained for, because you didn't start off art as a visual novel artist. You started off as just a fucking artist, I imagine, yes?
Well, I intended to actually go into animation, but no studio ever picked me up.
Hey, yay. No studio has. Not no studio will. You can't. The future hasn't happened yet. It does not exist. And so for you to write it off as an inevitability is unfair. It's unfair to you and the potential future you might maybe be in your grasp.
Well, I'm not saying that there's no possibility of it. I'm just saying it just didn't happen.
Yeah, it has yet to happen. There you go. Language is important, man.
And English is confusing as hell. Anyway.
Oh, yes, it is. I believe someone referred to it as 3 languages in a trench coat, mugging other languages for articles. But so yeah, the game files are archived, and it turns out it's because every character sprite, every character that shows up for more than a cup of coffee, they're all in pieces. Mm-hmm. You get, your body, your arms, your head. Now, for an artist perspective on that, is that just different layers that you draw and then you just render them separately, or how does that work?
Well, when I start off one of the sprites, it's usually, it depends if Paul has one pre-made that he did that I have to mimic or replace, if you would. And if that's the case, then I try to mimic that pose or whatnot, just so it doesn't look that awkward. But for the most part, I just start sketching out the character. And then I have files to put my layers in, to where after I get the character, their proportion, their pose, everything looks fine, I go make a file, and I say, like, for hyper body 01. And in that folder, that's where I put in the inks, the flat colors, and all the shading and everything that involves with just that layer. And then I make a new folder, and I do hyper expression default, which would be just like you're sitting there playing, nothing is happening behind the eyes, look. And I do the same thing there. Get the inks drawn in, the shading and all that other stuff in there. And then I just keep doing that for every time there's a new body to do, or if there's a new expression. And then costumes are like paper doll right on top. To do that in their own folder. And it just gets complicated when you have a character who has, say, asymmetrical features. Because then I have to figure out how to either separate that one feature so that I can do a flip, and thus it's responsible upon Paul to make sure to layer them correctly when he puts them in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's like a bunch of paper doll layers that I have to draw separately.
Yeah. Do you like draw them all on top of each other, or do you just do them all separately, hoping to Christ that they line up?
Oh, no. Like, say if I did the body and then I have to do another body, I fade the original one to where it's just barely visible so that I can reference it as I'm drawing.
Yeah, because that was something that I had to figure out how to like work with them in Premiere, because I was like trying to manually line them up, and like it was just like characters would have giant heads and their arms would be coming out of their fucking stomach. It was fucking weird. But I found that if you just layer them all on top of each other, nest them, and then move them as a group, it actually turns out totally natural right out the gate, and it became way fucking easier. Where did do you know where that style of doing sprites originated from? Because there are some artists in different projects in the visual novel sphere that do completely new art for every expression, body and head and everything all together. And I can only imagine that is just a whole lot of extra work that just oof.
I think it more or less came from an experiment with the small game Monster Hunting for Love that I did with Dying Wolf.
Yeah.
Because that's basically the first thing I ever did a sprite for.
Oh, cool.
But it was an experiment of how do I change the expression? Do I have to draw him completely different? And so on and so forth. And thankfully it was a small scale enough project that I was able to figure something out. And even then, I didn't really have any ambition to do any sprites for any major games from there. It's just when Paul approached me for that, it's like, oh, well, I can handle it like this.
Yeah. And see, that brings an interesting aspect to it, too. You mentioned having to try to mimic Paul's previous art, the posing. There's a straddling of... there's a lot of straddling, but no, there's specifically a straddling between art styles.
Oh, yeah.
Because what you're doing in Sins is not completely... You're not completely redrawing the sprites in your style. You're completely redrawing them, but with a bit of a hybrid of sorts. Like, it's smoother, and it's more defined, and they look more closer to your art style, but they're still recognizable as the character designs and style from Paul's original thing. So how do you balance that?
Well, that helps a lot when they have the source material to work off of. Because then there's features about that character that I know have to remain the same.
Yeah.
And even though if it's going to be adjusted slightly because of the style that we draw on, Paul, he's very gung-ho and just goes straight at it. Mm-hmm. If you ever watch him draw live, you worry about the pen versus the paper. It's going to tear somewhere. He is passionate and aggressive when he draws. Love you, Paul.
Shout out to Paul. We know you're listening.
But yeah, having that to go off of really helps to make sure that you recognize that it's that character. It also helps, I think he mentioned it in his interview with you, that I've known these characters for a really long time now. Yeah. I've watched them develop them. So I have that feel for them to begin with.
That makes sense. It does, yeah. Have that familiarity, because like I've got a project of my own kind of in the background that I feel like I have like the opposite situation where familiarity is actually kind of screwing me up a bit, because and it sounds like I'm contradicting your point. I'm recognizing it as an inverse of what I'm dealing with. If that makes any sense. Because, like, it's going to sound kind of doofy here, but it's an idea that started with a pack of action figures I had as a kid. And I developed a whole story and a lore around it. A lot of people do that. But they're all like copyrighted characters and shit that you could never use. So since I'm so familiar with them as the character designs they already have, obviously you can't have fucking Trunks from Dragon Ball Z in some other work. So I feel like were I to ever go through with developing that as a project, I would have to encourage the artist to really explore designs.
Basically start from scratch at that point.
Yeah, and not only start from scratch, but like I feel like in that instance I'd have to almost be like I'd have to get final approval, obviously, but like I'd have to be separate from even the conception of the idea, because these are characters and toys that I've looked at specifically for decades now. So any design I base off of that is going to be biased and influenced by the toy themselves. And as soon as you do that, copyright, you're going to get too close. You're playing with fire.
Yep.
And in that vein, what was with the language today? In that vein, where do you decide to keep the familiarity or to change something when you're reworking a design? Because you're not changing the design, but you are retooling it. Like,
That
where
is
does
a very good question.
Thank you. I try my best, especially since this new format, I don't have notes. I don't do notes anymore. This is a conversation, for fuck's sake. That's why I spend 90% of it talking.
Let me see. Where is that line? That's very difficult to say, because I don't have the difficulty that you have with that project of yours.
Yeah, it's an inverse of the situation. So, like, take Hyper, for example.
Mm-hmm. Hyper.
Let's just ponder Hyper for a bit. No,
Oddly, I think he rivals everyone else in having the most pieces to a sprite.
Yeah.
Holy.
Yeah, he's got like 17 forms. Like, I haven't played the game just until my playthrough just got past the Hercules flashback. I don't know if there's more of those, but it's how far in terms of what has been done would you say, like, a percentage wise? How far am I? Like 5%
into the game?
Into the game as far as it's been developed thus far.
Oh, You're pretty much still within that first tutorial section of Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh no. That's my least favorite part of the whole game.
Honestly, Paul tells me a lot about the story, and I don't know exactly how everything lines up and timed until I watch someone play through it. So I don't know how to give you a percentage of this.
That's fair enough. I've asked Paul that as well, and I just feel bad that I haven't played it through as much. It's a challenging game.
Yeah.
Can I hear that one more time?
Yeah. You there?
Yes, I'm here. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. Sorry. But no, that is interesting that you're the chief character artist.
Mm-hmm.
And yet you're not a member of, like, the narrative team. You're not crafting the story, obviously. You're not. Do you have any suggesting input into anything that goes on, or are you just in portrayal of the idea?
without spoilers,
Oh.
I've apparently had quite a bit of influence in several pieces of it.
Oh, hey, nice. And to respect the lack of spoilers, I will not ask, what have you done? No, no, that's really
Like-
cool.
Just from one joke image I drew as something of like, just, I feel like that would be a funny thing to draw. I drew this one joke image of one of the characters in a completely different way. And all of a sudden, a whole different character gets born and is incorporated in the game.
Wow. That's fucking cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool, actually. Because, anytime anyone's trying to write a story, if they do it completely insulated by themselves, that tends to not be the best work. So when you consult with other people, you get a more well-rounded thing. And sometimes inspiration strikes from whence you would not expect. So that I think that's really cool.
It was sort of a, I didn't know it'd go that far. Oh, okay, we're going there. Okay, we're there.
As of the most current build, or at least of what you've worked on thus far, how far into, oh, nice. How far into the complete the exchange, replacing the old images with your images, how far have you gotten?
Okay. I was smart and I did this whole spreadsheet. Every time there's a new character I encounter that needs a replacement, I put it on the spreadsheet. What it needs for the body, the expressions, costumes, any extras, and everything else involved.
God,
and I have to be.
It's good. It's good. It's a good thing.
And just work with Paul's like, okay, we're doing this character next. Okay, so put that on the top of the list for this and that. And I keep all the ones that I have worked on in there. It's just highlighted saying finished. But let's see. So far, in just non-cameo characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 22-ish have been fully finished.
Nice.
I say ish because I'll get to it. There's some extras that get put in.
Mm.
And then I have 1, 2, about 15 or so more that still need to be touched.
Mm-hmm.
These are ones that he already drew that I have to revamp.
Okay.
Plus several other things like costume changes. I do those as groups. So the entire Hercules flashback thing you're going through, I did all those costumes all in one sitting.
Damn.
Well, except for Janice. Janice was a special case. But we'll get to that later. So there's always a ish thing to it because sometimes you come back to characters dressed in certain costumes. And there's more characters involved. So I have to add into what I've already done to draw the new costumes for new characters. But it's as he writes the story, I have to find more things to put in.
Yeah. And he does move around a lot. There's a lot of different scenes, different angles, different perspectives that, in your traditional two characters statically standing there moving a little bit as a scene progresses, that is way simpler to draw, but it's not nearly as expressive. Whereas in Sins, there is a lot of different art, a lot of different varieties of similar characters, and not to mention that the cast is about 500,000 characters huge.
And that's not even including the cameos.
Yeah, that's not even including the cameos. And, and I've heard, I never got around to seeing what like Halloween specials they were specifically. I wanted to, but I keep missing the train on those. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot to sink your teeth into. at some point, does it become too much, or does it become exhilarating from the amount of work, or somewhere in between?
I think it feels like it comes too much because there are times where he's like, okay, I'd like you to work on this, this, and this, and this next. And I look at it like, you get this and this. Because, frankly, I'm a full-time father, part-time artist as it is. So I have to sort of divvy up my time right.
Yeah.
But we take it like possibly one, maybe two sprites at a time, depending on where the story is. We got so many of the major characters already played through, so it's just, okay, this character is going to have a more prominent side in the next update. I need you to draw him. Okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
Which, incidentally, one of the Halloween special things you were talking about involved just that.
Yeah. Oh God, I feel so bad that I keep missing those, but I'm so far behind. I don't know if I could ever make up the time by the time an event's happening, or I have no fucking clue. I have no fucking clue.
Best that I recall with the stories, the Halloween events are in the story.
Oh, so I'll eventually get those.
Yeah, you'll eventually get them, but
okay, cool.
Yeah, so you're okay.
Thank you. That was very dad of you. That you
I've gotten used to it.
Yeah, the dad voice came out there. I have no experience being a parent, and I have even less experience being around like competent parenting. God, I hope my mother never watches this. But no. Nah, we talked about it. But no, I've discovered, this is a huge diversion, but I've discovered that certain people are just inclined to parental voices. And it has nothing to do with like the actual sound of the voice itself. It's the tone and inflection. Have you found, obviously you just showed that you do have a built up kind of dad tone, but like, do you have, did that come naturally to you? Had you had that before, or how did that come about?
Oh, without getting too far into it, I've come to, my wife has high anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of times where I have to comfort her. Mm-hmm. And help her calm down. So that's kind of where I got the training for it.
Makes sense. You know, being a supportive and reassuring partner, you find that no matter what age group, a lot of people need that. Mm-hmm. So that's very good. I'm very glad. But getting back to Sins, so you've got a lot of stuff, a lot of characters, a lot of different costumes, different sprites, the CGs,
flash screens, I call them.
Flash screens. The idea of going in and completely redoing stuff. I've only seen, and this is not to say it hasn't happened. Obviously, it has happened, but I've only seen one other big example of this in the VN sphere, and it's actually only across the hall from the studio you work in. Obviously telephoned in, but extracurricular activities. There was a big old thing that happened there that what happened is what happened, but we got to experience an art change there, both with backgrounds and with character arts. Did you... that happened before you got onto Sins. What were your thoughts?
Quite a ways before.
Pardon?
Quite a ways before I got to Sins, yeah.
Yeah. What were your thoughts on an art change of that scale then versus how do you see it now that you're doing it?
Because I'm friends with both creators, I got to see the production of the original artwork of that game and seeing how much was going into it. And then when the whole art change thing happened, and sitting back and thinking, that is a lot to recover from.
Yeah.
And I guess I can't say it really affected how I looked at doing sins. Because as you see it, or heard, I have it pretty organized.
Yeah. You got it handled.
Yeah. And let's face it, again, love you, Paul, but he is rather flighty at times, so I have to try to keep things in track.
Just imagining like seeing him charging forward and like you're building a house and he's like, oh, I'm gonna add a wing there and I'm gonna do this, and you're behind with like a notebook like, we don't have it in the budget.
But yeah, there's basically, looking at it, I have some lessons learned about how to handle things. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, I don't think it daunted me so much.
That's, yeah. I mean, it does help seeing that it can happen and succeed, because, it was a rough transition for a little bit, but, now it's pretty smoothed over. And
of course, there's a fan expectation who like the original art, and either then growing accustomed to the new one, or yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. I think enough has been said on that as is. Needless to say, it was a personal situation, and while people can like what they like, there are real people behind these projects, and those real people can hear and read what is said, and sometimes it's not the nicest experience in the world. But sometimes it is nice, when someone says that they, they like the art, or they appreciate it, or they're taken aback by how nice it is. That's something that, like you said, you didn't after Monster Hunting for Love, you didn't expect to do sprite art again. Now that you have, how have you adjusted to having your art be so much more publicly viewed in the visual novel sphere specifically?
It's a little thrilling, actually.
A little thrilling.
Yeah, I'm watching a couple playthroughs, and there's a lot of times like, oh, they're getting to the part where this sprite gets introduced. They love it. Okay.
Oh, that's
and
wonderful.
It's kind of thrilling to know that it's like people are seeing these things. And now I actually personally do get a kick out of teasing people a lot, so this is actually kind of excuse me, nose is stuffing up a bit. Kind of fun in that aspect. So it's kind of thrilling to just know that people are seeing these, and so far I'm getting a lot of good feedback about it.
Well, that's great, man. And
I'm trying my best by them.
Yeah, and you are doing fucking phenomenally. I mean, you've already talked about how much organization has gone into it and how much the workload is. But you've gone through it exceedingly well. Your art has never failed to be a wondrous addition. It has been a breath of fresh air, and I personally, I'm just speaking for me, but I know I'm not the only one who thinks it. I'm very happy for you to have gotten this job. It's not me I'm not trying to inadvertently shit on what was before. What I'm saying is a fresh coat of paint can make a house a home. And so I'm very glad that you're brought onto the project, and I have adored what I have seen of your work thus far. I know I've got a lot left to see, and I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's when Paul asked me to jump on the project, it was very flattering.
Yeah. Like, can you go into what led up to that, and like how how it was right off the at the beginning?
I think it was because, as you know, he's working on both Sins and House of Beef.
Yeah.
And I think he came to a point where he realized that he needed help because that's coding 2 games, drawing for 1, and also doing his DSN and other things that he does on Patreon. And that was getting to be quite a bit, so he was looking to finding new artists. Like, he's got, oh goodness, I'm blinking, this is bad.
It's okay. It's on the spot. No one will be upset. This isn't the fucking Grammys, all right?
Gavel. He's got Gavel on backgrounds. And then, of course, getting Zagul in there as well for special scenes.
Sorry.
So, yeah, he started looking around for other people to include, and he came to me first, and yeah, at least he says he did.
We're on the ball.
And yeah, I think he said that because I did know the characters so well, and like I've known Paul since back in community college, and I knew Hyper and Wolfstar from back then, so I had that good standing.
That's fucking great. And when about did this did the initial conversation happen?
Huh. That's a very good question.
Thank you again.
It's been a while. Oh wait, I can look up one of the older files, see when that was created.
Yeah.
Oddly, the first file, or the first character he had me work on, oddly enough, was Janice.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. His sprite was created August 1st, 2020.
Oh, wow. So it's been over a year.
Yeah, it has.
Dang.
Wow.
Where does the time go?
Everywhere.
Everywhere but where you want it to be.
Exactly.
Especially in parenthood, I can imagine. That is like, I've heard like 3 universal things from new parents. I'm not saying you're a new parent, but young parents.
I still consider myself new. Go ahead.
Okay, so new parent. 1, I don't know when the last time I slept was.
Yes.
2, you do get used to that smell. And 3, I have no idea where the time goes.
Yeah. Especially when you get a certain system, like, not a system, not a schedule, routine. When you get a routine and you find you're hitting the landmarks of said routine rather fast through the day.
Yeah?
So any possible moment where you have any free time, you jump on it.
Yeah. And, oh man, I get worried about the idea of becoming a parent. You know, as I said, I've never had the experience. And for the vast majority of my life, I never thought that it would even be possible for me. I just had come to the conclusion that no one would ever want to have a kid with me, and that I would never get the opportunity to do it if I wanted to do it alone. And now that I'm in a relationship that seems where that is very much in the plans, I have to kind of come to terms with a lot of the realities that come with it, you know, and realizing just how unprepared I am.
You're never going to be fully prepared, trust me on that.
We've
There's
talked about it
always going to be something.
Yeah. How do you, when you're in a situation and you've got this little half you, half your partner, being that you love and you would do anything for, just crawling around on the floor or whatever, and you realize you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. Is that a moment of, it's going to be different for everyone. For you, is that a moment of terror or excitement, or are you just so used to it now you're like, oh well, yep, that's another thing I gotta Google?
Well, for the most part, it's a going with the gut reaction first.
Yeah.
You're going to have to rely on your what you feel is the right thing to do at first, and oftentimes you'll be right. But there is still a lot of asking advice from others. Like, I have a brother-in-law and his wife who have a whole tribe of 4 children.
Oh, jeez.
The youngest one is 2 months younger than my daughter. So they got 8 to 2-year-olds here.
Oh my, that is a spread.
Surprisingly, extremely well-behaved kids.
Oh, nice.
Of course, there's our parents. They each parented 3 children of their own. Of course, when I bring it up to my mom, she tells me that, yeah, but by the time I got to you, I was tired.
You third kid?
I'm the third and the youngest.
Yep.
And yeah, there'll be plenty of times where you get to ask for advice and so forth. So
That's good. Have a good support system.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
There's still some things we look at as like, why do you do this?
God.
Yeah. Then she's dangerously smart.
Dangerously smart?
Yes, she knows that one controller tells you what to do to turn on the TV. The other controller tells it what to do to choose the program.
Wow.
And the other controller is what Daddy uses to play his video games. She knows these things.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. She's learning the buttons, too.
Damn.
I think she got herself to Disney Plus just yesterday.
Wow.
She's dangerously smart.
Yeah. Oh man, and see that oh shit, sorry. That's something else about raising a kid now that, you know, raising a kid in the last couple of decades could not have
rapid
been
advance of technology.
That is exactly where I'm going with this. When I was growing up, I'm not trying to go into when I was your age type of bullshit, but like when I was growing up, it was VHSs and I don't even think we had internet when I started. And if we did, it was dial up. But I don't know what it is like to be a parent to someone who has to teach all of this new shit. And how do you balance it? Like, I don't know the value of tedium when it comes to developing a young developing mind, you know? Should I explain what the fuck I meant by that?
I think I know where you're getting.
Being bored is when I came up with some of my most valuable personality traits. And
well,
but now there's so many things, and it's so good. This is a lot of people use this as an excuse to rail against the new, the new equals bad and blah blah. No, it's so much better for people nowadays. You know, crime is down. It doesn't seem like it from what we hear on the news, but crime is down. Infant mortality is way down. Health is better, and there's so many things to do, so much fun to be had, so many things to explore and to learn, and ways to do things. But like, how the fuck do you balance it all? It's like a juggling act with 17 different balls.
You limit how often you use things like the TV, particularly with the kids. Like in the morning when I go get Rose, she's like her mother. She's a slow waker. Mm-hmm. She will take her time to wake up. So I get her, change her, bring her to the couch, set her down, give her milk, And then I sit next to her and I start playing my Animal Crossing to get my daily stuff in. And she just cuddles up next to me. And then when she's done, she'll slide off the couch and find one of her toys.
Aw.
And then our day's ready.
See, it's when it's phrased like that it sounds so adorable and lovely. But then...
you just have to limit how much they get and tell them in a calm, simple manner, especially when they get about 2 years old, they start to understand about, no, not now, we'll do it later, sort of a deal. And she's got plenty to entertain herself with, and she makes quite a mess doing it. Half my evening is cleaning up after her. And we have no fear that she's getting too much TV or anything like that, because she seems perfectly capable of entertaining herself with everything else. She's very active. She runs circles everywhere. And if anything, to kind of go back a bit to the introduction of the technology stuff and having to teach them about it all, no, she watches and she learns from you. Like, she learns, you press the phone and then put it up to your ear and say, hello? She understands that part. She knows how to swipe on a phone thanks to my mother. But yeah, you just take it easy with them and make sure there's some limitations.
Nice. I know that I certainly hope that when years down the line, if everything works out and I do have kids, kids. Bree wants multiple kids, and I'm like, I can barely handle having a dog, and that's like 1/100th of the responsibility.
We looked at my brother-in-law and said, we'll settle for 2 if we get that.
Another moment of having something to compare to, but
yes,
I know that if everything goes according to plan, and hopefully we'll still be in contact with each other by then, because you never know what time will bring. Yeah.
Right.
I'll definitely be bending your ear on.
And I should have plenty of advice by then.
Oh yeah, I mean, because by then, because we're not planning on even trying to have kids until we have like a more stable household income. Hopefully, we're both healthier mentally and physically. Like we're really trying to.
Sorry.
It's okay. We're both really trying to focus on making sure that if kids, when they're introduced to the world, they have the best chance of having a stable home life that they could have. It's never going to be perfect, but like, I'm
make it a place where they're comfortable being.
Exactly. I am, at a very unhealthy weight. I'm dealing with a lot of health issues. Bree is working constantly, trying to get her school done and trying to, she, at her current job, is the first job she's had viable, actual, usable health insurance. So she's going to get a lot of that stuff taken care of, but it's still years down the line before we feel like we'll actually be ready to have kids. Do you remember a moment where you felt ready, at least as ready as you'll ever be?
For kids or just for a big moment in life?
For kids. I mean,
it wasn't a moment where we were stable. We also were kind of bouncing the idea of finding a house, which I live in Southern California. Screw that. It's sad. But it was just that we're ready to try to have kids. And hey, it happened.
Nice. It just kind of crept up on you, and you're like, you just look around and you think, this could work.
Yeah, that's kind of how it felt when I said I was ready to propose to marriage. So
nice.
You just realized, yeah, I'm ready.
Isn't it always kind of the way where you expect these moments to be accompanied by like a big band and some big epiphany and a gust of
Trumpets
wind and
and
trumpets,
cannonballs and
people shouting from the streets, "Go do it, you got this!" But really, it's just sort of like, oh, it's Tuesday, and I had a moment to think, and I'm like, oh yeah, and
quiet moments are often the most impactful.
yeah, I mean that's kind of what I meant earlier when I said moments where I'm bored or where my most important personality traits come from. It's where you get to like take stock of where you are in life, what you're wanting, what you want to do. You're not just going from thing to thing. You actually get to stop and think, what do I want to do? What can I do? How am I doing? A lot of people are so busy they forget to do that. We're reaching kind of the end of our time here. I wanted to ask a few more things before we go.
Okay.
You do something very interesting on your Patreon. Something that, again, I don't spend my fucking hours of the day scouring Patreon rewards to see if other people do these things, but like, you're the first one that I've seen do it the way you do, where you actually you spend so much time and effort producing Patreon rewards. God, I struggle with that word. Rewards. Patreon rewards that are substantial, like arguably more substantial than they would be as solo purchases, and it's such like, I'm trying to figure out how I want to say this. Basically, it's so much stuff that I worry about how much time you spend. Okay, this is actually starting to sound like a fucking oy vey. What I'm trying to say is you spend a lot of time doing your, it seems like you spend a lot of time doing your Patreon rewards. Do you find that to be a kind of a job in and of itself, or what started you doing those particular rewards? Because they are very substantial and very rewarding, as rewards often are.
Well, it took a bit of time to like figure out, okay, what can I handle within a month? And for the most part, I try my darnest to finish all Patreon rewards before the 15th.
Really?
So mid-month is when I try to reach, okay, last rewards are done, out, and good. Unfortunately, as the workload is, and with caring for the kid, because the second I turn on my tablet, she wants to draw on the magical paper. The comic that I promised, which I'm still trying to work on, is majorly delayed. Mm-hmm. But at least for those that are in tiers like, say, yours, I can get your thing out every month.
Do you... go ahead.
Wait. I think I was on track somewhere.
We've been talking for 50 minutes and both our brains are fried. A lot of socializing. Man.
Yes. But, yeah, just by the 15th of the month, and then after that I try to take on only like 1 or 2 commissions at any given time. Because it takes time to talk with people saying, hey, does the line work look fine? Or, hey, is there any changes to this? I switch between them. So it is kind of a balancing or juggling act of sorts. While I have 1 ball in the air, I have 2 I'm working on.
Yeah.
Toss another one and grab the previous one.
Yeah, because you've got, like you got the comic that's delayed, and you've got the Patreon rewards, and you've got sins, and you've got commissions, and who knows what the hell else, you've got all of these things on top of being, like you said, a full-time parent.
Mm-hmm. And husband.
And husband. Yes, very true. Very true. So it's like, I know it's a kind of a cliche thing to ask, but like, how the fuck do you manage all those things when you got the same amount of hours in a day that I do? And I know damn well that I would have a stroke after a week of even trying to think of how to do that.
Well, it helps because I have a degree in animation, and I was training more in storyboard art. And you're supposed to be rather fast when you work that.
Yeah.
So I was already a fast draw, and then I learned and trained to be a fast draw. So I can dish things out rather fast and in decent quality, because you don't just train for like one aspect of animation. Like if you look at a storyboard for a full feature film, it'll look rather minimalist, if not sloppy. But if you look at it for TV, it is practically clean line.
Unless it's Steven Universe.
Yeah. Clean line work, because oftentimes it gets shipped out to somewhere else to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
And they need to have the exact lines you're going for. But I trained to do that, so I learned to be fast at drawing. And so that helps to get work done. It also helps, well, of course, when Lily gets home from work, Rose wants nothing to do with me and is all mama, mama, mama. So typically after dinner is when my work day actually starts. My parents, when they're in town, because they have a place up in Michigan, they'll watch her a couple times out of the week, so I can use that time to draw. Like, normally, I'd probably be using this time now to be catching up on some work, but I wanted to do this.
Well, thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome. It is really just, it's like the entire being a parent, you nap whenever you possibly can. It's sort of the same for being an artist as well at the same time. You draw when you can. And that also goes into the routine. You can't just say, fill up the entire day of everything to get it done and then do whatever you want after everything's done. You have to schedule free time within all the busy time to do whatever you need to do. Say if like Lily ended up having like a week free at home, I can use several times in that in order to work. And I could actually get things done pretty fast that way.
Nice.
But yeah, it's all a lot of balancing and trying to just wedge things into place. Like, oh look, I have free time. I can do this.
Nice. All right. Well, that's something that I struggle with, you know, because I have a to-do list. I keep to-do lists, and so it's very easy to look at it as all right, this is done. I have to go to this thing now, and now that's done. I have to go to the next thing, and I gotta remember, like, I'm at home. I am the housewife. I can take a breath in between putting some, a load of laundry in, and then I got to do the dishes, take out the trash. I got to do all these things. Like, as long as they get done, I can take a breath. None of these things have to be done by X o'clock. They're done before I go to bed. So like, knowing when to breathe when you've got so many things, and a lot of people I've seen struggle with this when they kind of become their own scheduler. They struggle to remember the virtue of having time away from things.
Like if Rose decides to sleep in, my God, does that make a good morning? Because there's just something about being able to sit down with your tea, a little something to nibble on, and silence.
Yes. I've been enjoying that lately too. We rediscovered our local library. Just found some books, that I started reading as a kid, didn't get to finish. The Bone series. I don't know if you've ever heard of Bone.
I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Wait, is that the comic?
Yeah, it's a
okay, yes.
graphic novel. Yeah.
Okay.
And we've just had these moments every once in a while where we just sit down, don't have anything playing on the TV, nothing going, and we're just reading quietly. And it's like, it's bliss. It's fucking bliss.
That's technically our evenings. Even though if I'm working, I at least enjoy working.
Yeah.
Especially, it's like after this entire day, I can do something creative.
Yeah.
But like Lily's been able to sit down, and thanks to not having as stressful as a job anymore, she's been able actually to write, which is something she's been struggling to do recently. And she's actually found her pace and is writing. And usually either we do that with our own music going on our headphones, or it's like, let's put on the Nutcracker. Yeah, let's put on the Nutcracker. It's time for the Nutcracker. And we put on like a ballet or something on TV.
Yeah.
Just because we like the music, and there's times where we can stop while we're doing and just watch it and just like, why did the choreographer go for that move? Seriously, we have a version of the Nutcracker where it's like beautiful, 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 and the Sugar Plum Fairy does this one weird little jump. And she's like, what the hell was that? And then pretty again. It's like,
yeah.
That one bit is just like, I don't know what she's doing.
Just a left moment.
Yeah. Yeah, those quiet moments come in nicely.
Yeah. And that's the thing. When you enjoy what you're doing and you're able to schedule when you're doing it, it's very tempting to try to, like, max it all out or not leave enough time for all the other things. And it kind of happens in the background. How do you personally manage a work-life balance in between a job you enjoy, a life you find fulfilling, people in your life that you love, and also need time to fucking breathe without drowning in any particular category?
Oof. That is a very interesting question. This is like life philosophy. Wow.
Yeah, man. It's not just fucking narrating sex scenes with Gilbert Gottfried over here, man.
You remember that?
Of course I remember that.
I guess because I don't know. I guess I personally just have this mentality of I can't let myself burn.
You can't let yourself burn? What does that mean?
Like burn out.
Huh.
Like if I'm get to drawing and I start drawing a couple lines and I find that line doesn't work, that line doesn't work, that line doesn't work. And then I come to realize none of these lines are going to work. I'm going to be stressing about this. I put the pen down and I just don't work.
Wow.
Because my mental health is far more important than struggling over a freaking line.
Hell. Like, it sounds like it's something small, but it's not. Like,
no, it can build up.
Yeah.
And if you if I kept going at it, even though if like, okay, just settle for that line, go for the next, it will look horrible. And I will be unsatisfied, and I'll eventually just erase the whole thing and start over.
Do you have an idea of where that ability to take a step back came from, like in a developmental sense, or is that just something that you've always been naturally able to do?
I think video games.
Video games. What's
when
that?
I play, when I'd be playing and there's a boss battle and it's just like I keep dying in this stupid boss battle, I put it away.
Jesus.
Because otherwise I'm stuck. What do? I can't go back. I can't do this. I either have to finish the dang boss battle or step back and do something else until I'm ready to go back to the dang boss battle.
So it really is
And
just
also,
second nature for you.
thankfully, there's also watching Lily in her previous job. Her previous job was incredibly demanding. And it's one of those where, unfortunately, they wouldn't let her finish a task. And would often tons of miscommunication between the person that she was working directly under for this particular project at the job versus trying to get these people to react to what she needs from them and so forth and so forth. She'd not be able to get anything done. And then it usually, because she was a coordinator, it'll usually land on her for when everything falls out of place.
Damn.
Hugely stressful. It was one of the worst environments for her to be in. Even if she was working from home, which they're still scheduled to be working from home, it was even worse because then they expected her to be there longer.
Jesus.
Especially this particular project head that she was working under, who was so damn demanding. I wanted to strangle that man. That aside. But the burnout was so real, so evident, and I had to witness it. I mean, I was doing everything I could to help her, but I had to witness it. And there's moments where it's like, you just gotta learn to put it down.
Damn. Well,
I learn a lot from observing other people.
Yeah. You ever go people watching pre-pandemic, just go to a mall and just stare at people?
Disneyland, actually.
Disneyland, yeah. The
That's fun to
expensive
do.
version.
Back when I was able to afford an annual pass.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so glorious. I loved going there almost every weekend.
Never been.
If ever comes a time, drag me along. I'll show you everything.
All right. Well, if I'm ever rich enough to be able to afford that and can also afford the trip out to where you're at and fucking oh, you already said Southern California.
See.
Yeah. Sorry, I try to maintain a certain level of how much does this person want to know, people to know about their personal lives, but we've gotten into a lot of fucking detail already, but
Yeah, I don't usually be that shy. I mean, won't pinpoint. It's like, this is my exact address.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure even if someone did do that knowingly and willingly, I'd still edit it out because I do not want to be the incident started when on this podcast. I don't want to be a part of an article and the explanation for why X and X bad thing happened. But no. As someone who does not have that second nature ability to just put something down when I'm realizing it's not working, I am insanely jealous of that ability, and I hope that one day I'll be able to exhibit it myself.
Takes quite a bit of willpower.
Yeah.
To exercise, because there's a lot of battling against, like, I need to get this work done, but I'm also looking at, like, but I owe it to the people to do a decent job.
Yeah.
And if I can't do a decent job to these people, that, one, gives them a unsatisfying result. Two, it's bad on me, reputation-wise.
That is true. As an artist for commissions, your reputation is pretty fucking important.
And that's also why I won't charge per hour for my work.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
I do a lot of flat rates based on what you want in the image. Because I could go through a full illustration with a background and fancy effects and this and that. I could do that within a night. And then this one person asked for 2 stickers, and that could take me forever. Just like, the pose ain't coming out. The line work doesn't look right. This looks shoddy. And so many things that can happen for just trying to get it to look right that will make it so different in how much time I spend on them.
Yeah. And that's why, like, I'm trying to get an intro done for my channel. I believe I've talked to some people, as you probably know, about putting an intro on my videos, and I came up with a concept. It's just 5 seconds of just something, And
5 seconds. I know
5
the animation world of how long that will take.
Yep, and that's exactly it. Like, I say just 5 seconds, but that's the final product. Like, it's like looking at a fucking pizza and thinking, oh, that's just a pizza. But then that's discounting, like, the people who had to put it together, the people that baked the bread, the people that harvested the tomatoes that went in the sauce, the people that raised the fucking, the animals that went into the meat. Like, there's a lot of shit that goes into that pizza other than just, oh, it's just a pizza.
Let's see. If it were animated, that's what, 24 frames per second. And that's not counting whether they're shot on 2s or 4s. Let's see, what else would be involved? There's also timing of, like, is this particular frame held? Is that one just continuous to the next? What's going on?
The animation is comprised of 2 shots. One is static. It is just a still image. The animation itself is just shot, one shot from the front. It has about, I would say, 3 expressions and just 1 smooth motion, and lighting effect and a simple background. But
you're doing Vogue, aren't you?
Vogue? No, Jesus. Oh, God. I have the opposite of the esteem. I have the opposite of the self-esteem it would require to pose for a magazine. I know. I can talk to you more about it privately if you'd like, but
sounds fun.
Yeah, but yeah. So, all right, we've spoken for an hour. I think that is good. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too.
Mm-hmm. That I did.
We'll end off with kind of one last thing. Do you think Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are going to show up in the new Spider-Man movie?
Honestly, I'm so far removed from the Spider-Man universe. Other than Into the Universe and how awesome that one was.
Into the Spider-Verse?
Sorry. Yeah. How awesome that was and the fact that the sequel's coming out. Anyway. Yeah.
All right. Then all that's left is to wrap it up. And I like to end these interviews off with just some small question, just some lighthearted thing. You pick what it is so that people in the comments can answer it and prove that they made it to the end. Stuff like, what's your favorite M&M, and something small like that. So what would you like to ask of the commenters to prove that they made it to the end?
Ooh, good question.
Don't think about it too hard, man. Just something small.
What's your favorite hot drink?
Favorite hot drink? Nice.
Coffee, tea, cocoa, whatever it be.
What is yours? Is it tea?
I'm drinking Nutcracker Sweet right now.
The tea that you sent me.
Yes. Unfortunately, I will not be able to do it again.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. But that tea was the first tea I have had where I was like, I could legitimately drink this in general. Because I'm not a tea person. But like that tea.
You smell that tea and it's crisp.
Yeah. It was such a nice looking tea. And I just really enjoyed it, genuinely.
There's this other one that is called the Mad Tea Party Blend. It smells like gummy bears. It's amazing.
Ooh. Interesting.
Anyway.
My favorite hot drink. Chicken noodle soup.
Yes, you can drink that.
I'd probably have to go with like a hot chocolate or something. I don't usually drink hot drinks now that I'm thinking about it. That's actually a very interesting question. I'm like looking around seeing where I could. Yeah, if you don't count like soup, water, then it would probably have to be a hot chocolate because I remember.
I think they called soup water broth.
Well, schmuckity schmuck. We had such a pleasant time. You had to come in here with this, well, actually, bullshit. All right, let us know in the comments, everyone. What's your favorite hot drink? And soup doesn't count because it's broth. And thank you very much, Mark, for being here, for talking to me, for all the hard work you do. It is a joy and a pleasure to see you pop up whenever you do. I love talking to you both off camera and on. This has been a very lovely experience. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed it as much as well. And I hope that maybe someday we'll get to do this again. Maybe after the comic comes out. I look forward to seeing what comes of that.
When I start reposting that one. Woohoo!
Yeah. So thank you for being here, and thank you to everyone who is listening. I hope I'll see you all again in the next video. And by the time this comes out, it may be the end of December. I'm not sure. So happy whatever the fuck day it is or is about to be or was recently. Have a nice day, everyone. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.